All right, I'd like to call to order the July 15, 2025 meeting of the West Palm Beach Planning Board. Madam Clerk, if you kindly call the roll.
Daniel Kushakshan.
Present.
Jean Marseille Jr.
Present.
Patrick Mayfield.
Present.
Will Corrente. Is not here. Stephen Mayans.
Present.
Peter Pivko.
Present.
Deborah Rain.
Present.
Let the record show that Will has just joined us.
And let the record reflect that Sam Fish is not present. Thank you.
All right, next order of business is approval of the June 17, 2025 minutes. Has everyone had the opportunity to review them? Are there any changes or corrections? If not, I'm looking for a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Have we a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next on our agenda is report of the planning staff.
Evening, planning board members. Chair Angela Van, planning and zoning administrator. Have no updates from the between last commission meeting and last time you had a planning board meeting. Commission has not approved any items that you heard yet, so staff has no reports, but happy to any questions you may have.
All right, any questions of staff? If not, thank you, Ms. Van. All right, next on our agenda are remarks by the chairperson, of which I have none. Then becomes the declaration of ex parte communications. Let me begin by saying that I have had no ex parte communications. I received no written communications. I have conducted no investigations, nor made any site visits, nor received any expert opinions. I ask that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record. Let's go down the list. Deborah, if you don't mind, please.
As it relates to the agenda items this evening, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you so much. Peter.
As to all the items in tonight's agenda, I have not had any ex parte communications, and I was lonesome because my phone was very quiet. I have received no written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions, and I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Will.
As to all matters on tonight's agenda, I have not had ex parte communication. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Patrick.
With respect to this evening's agenda, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you. Jean.
As to all matters on the agenda, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you, TK.
As to all the matters on the agenda this evening, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you so much. That brings us now to the swearing in of speakers. Would everyone who plans to speak or offer testimony this evening please stand up and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to be given in this proceeding will be truthful? Thank you. Next on our agenda are continued cases, of which there are none. That brings us to Planning Board case number 2010 and 2010A. May we hear from the applicant?
Good evening, Planning Board. Tyler Woolsey, Urban Design Studio, on behalf of the applicant. I have the pleasure this evening of presenting to you a project that is a P3, a joint development between the City of West Palm Beach, a joint application between the City of West Palm Beach and VDG Land Co. I promise I'll be brief. I want to get through both items in one, the future land use and the rezoning request to keep things consolidated. For a little context, the site is on North Australian Avenue, north of Palm Beach Lakes, and so you see downtown with the site to the northwest of downtown there. Give you a little bit of orientation. It is on the east side of Lake Mangonia, just northeast of the outlets. Here's a little bit of a closer look at the property. You see that there is an interesting jog in the site boundary, and I'll speak to that more in just a moment. But just for the context, it is on the east side of North Australian Avenue, adjacent to the Lakeside Health Center immediately west, some existing office and retail just north of it at the corner of 25th Street, and then some existing multifamily apartments, Uptown 22 apartments, and then Resia at Mangonia Lake just south of it. A little bit closer look at the existing conditions on the property, as well as a discussion of ownership. The site right now has one single-story office building of about 5,000 square feet, built back in the 1980s. The balance of the property is vacant. As you can see, about half of the property, the north 1.2 acres, is owned by VDG Land Company. And then the south 1.2 acres is owned by the City of West Palm Beach, and has been owned by the City of West Palm Beach for a long time. What you see there on the east side of the city-owned property is an existing city lift station. That is the jog that you saw on that previous graphic for the site boundaries. That lift station is to remain. That serves public infrastructure throughout the area, and part of this project involves underground utility infrastructure upgrades on the south part of the property in order to maintain the efficiency and improve the efficiency of that lift station operation. I note that because it is important that this is, a partnership with the city. But it's also important to note that that piece of property, due to that lift station and the significant underground utilities, really has no use other than serving to convey those underground utilities from Australian to the lift station. And so, this project, represents something where, the city recognized an opportunity to do something with that property while maintaining and improving the operation of that lift station, which we're all excited about. As mentioned, some of the existing conditions, largely vacant lot with an older office building right now. And so tonight we're here to request a future land use amendment. That north half of the property is commercial future land use. The south half, the city-owned piece, is community service. We're proposing to take the entire property to multifamily, the MF designation. And then consistent with that, the south half of the property is recreation open space zoning, with the north half being neighborhood commercial zoning. And we're looking to take the entire property to the MF 32 zoning district in order to create a multifamily project that is using the affordable workforce housing overlay. And I will show you the project here in a moment. Before we get to the project itself, just a graphic representation of what I spoke to with the split commercial, community service, future land use today, and the request to go to multifamily. You'll see that that multifamily designation is consistent with existing apartments just south of us, as mentioned. And then similarly, here's the zoning. Today, neighborhood commercial on the north, recreation open space on the south, looking to take that property to MF 32, again, consistent with the uptown apartments just south of us. We've worked with the city for several months now. The city's completed their analysis in cooperation with our team. They have determined, and I think one thing that we always like to highlight is the public facility. We are in compliance with all level of service for all utilities and concurrency elements. And then more specifically, the applicable standards for a future land use, both our team and your staff, believes that we do comply with all of the applicable standards here for the land use, as well as these standards here for the rezoning. And to give you a quick peek at what the project looks like, you see a rendering on the right-hand side of your screen. This is actually the north side of the property. It is a mid-rise multifamily apartment building. It is strictly residential. The project will contain 155 dwelling units, of which 51%, 79 units, will be workforce housing. As you can see, there are significant amenities proposed, both external and interior, a resident pool and sports field, as well as significant amenities interior. And one thing, a little bit of the wow of the project, and I save it to the end just because it is so nice as a reveal. This project is being proposed in cooperation with a large hospitality user in the neighborhood, many of which you'll recognize as the Breakers, Palm Beach. They are proposing this project as effectively an employee housing development in order for them to locate their employees in this project. And so one significant element of this that everyone's very excited about, there will be a dedicated shuttle service that gets those folks both from their residence to their place of employment, as well to primary retailers and grocery stores, really working to address a number of issues in one, from our housing crisis to transportation impacts. And so, this project, from our perspective, really has been a win-win-win all around. I'll show you here briefly the rendered site plan. As you can see, the building taking an L shape on the north side of the lot with the sports field and pool north of that. And then, as mentioned, the south side of the property really cannot sustain, specifically the south 80 to 100 feet of the property, cannot sustain development because of those underground utilities serving to connect to that lift station. And so we've designed for the parking lot to exist on that south side. Your staff is recommending approval, as you've seen in your staff report, on both the land use and the rezoning, subject to a condition of approval requiring the site plan, requiring these applications rather get approved prior to the site plan application, which is in right now. And we'll be continuing to work with your staff through the last few PPRC technical comments to move that site plan forward. And we're happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, any questions? TK, let's start with you. Any questions?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Gene, any questions?
So is there a conveyance happening between the city and the developer?
There is, yeah. Back in February, the City Commission designated that south piece as city surplus land and entered into negotiations with VDG Land Co. At the same time that these applications go to City Commission for final approval, there will be a purchase and sale agreement as well as a workforce housing agreement on that same agenda to approve the full transfer of the property.
Okay. So was it open market or just?
That's a good question. I believe at the time of declaration of surplus, the city designated VDG Land Co. as an entity to negotiate because they own the adjacent property, recognizing nothing really standalone could happen on that south piece because of the constraints related to the utilities on the south side.
Okay. And then, so the lift station is at an easement?
The lift station is city-owned property and will remain city-owned property. We will be conveying an easement, a significant easement, I believe it's 80 feet in width, along the south side of the property line to maintain the city's authority to operate their utilities there.
Okay,
under the
got it.
parking.
So it's a carve-out, basically?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Patrick?
I have no questions.
Will?
No questions.
Okay. Peter? Any questions, Peter?
None.
Okay, Deborah? I had one question for you. So how does it work with the breakers in the sense that I assume this housing is open to anyone? How will they know that they'll be able to get some of their workers there if it fills up with other
Yeah,
renters?
so this will truly be an employee housing project in that at the end of the day, the breakers will own this piece of property. And so they will, unlike, a standard multifamily, where
Right.
there might be, an ownership group that then owns and operates and it is open to the public, breakers will have total control here. And so in order to be a resident here, you'll be one of the breakers' employees.
So it's going to be only breakers employees here?
That's correct.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. All right, may we hear from the city?
Good evening, Planning Board. For the record, my name is Kevin DeFrank, Senior Planner with the City's Development Services Department. And I will present staff's findings and recommendation for the subject agenda item that involves a future land use map amendment and rezoning requests associated with the 3 contiguous parcels located on the east side of North Australian Avenue, south of 25th Street, as the applicant's representative thoroughly presented. So staff finds the future land use map amendment complies with the changed assumptions future land use amendment standards found in the city's comprehensive plan. And staff finds the rezoning request complies with all the rezoning standards found in the city's zoning standards, zoning and land development regulations. And therefore, staff recommends an approval of the future land use map amendment request. And staff recommends approval with the condition of the rezoning request. And this is the recommended condition of approval. And staff recommends this condition because the proposal incorporates a workforce housing component, and in addition to the future land use map amendment and rezoning requests requiring a final determination by City Commission, the special site plan review requires a final determination by City Commission as well. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, any questions of staff? If not, thank you. Would anyone from the public wish to be heard on this matter? And if not, we'll bring it back to the board for discussion. Any thoughts? Any concerns?
I realize that I have a conflict of interest on this vote,
Okay,
so I will.
not participate in the
I will
discussion?
not participate.
And that's okay, you could stay there, but we understand you won't be voting. Does anyone have any doubts or concerns about this project?
I mean, I think this is exactly what I've been wanting to see for a while. You know, something that's predominantly workforce, that's not just paying into a fund that is going to be developed somewhere, or, you know, if ever. It's got parking. You know, I love parking, so it's
one
got
of
a
your
parking
issues,
lot,
so.
which is amazing. And I love that they're, you know, creating a place for their employees to live, especially given the unaffordability of workers' housing in West Palm Beach. So, like, I wish every project was like this. It would make our lives easier.
Well, perhaps you might want to make a motion then.
So
Oops, sorry, jump in, Gene.
I don't know, I guess I could be a little bit of a dissenting voice, but it's a little bit of a self-serving project. And, you know, the Breakers isn't in the city of West Palm Beach, and it's, you know, they have exclusive control over who's in there. So I don't know that it serves the city of West Palm Beach, but certainly it's helpful to the Breakers. Yeah.
No, I see that, but I also know that, you know, years ago when we did the sister city between Budva, Montenegro, and West Palm Beach, we got to spend time with the HR folks at the Breakers, you know, and the level of, number one, they bring in employees from all over the world to train, right? And their level of training and their efficiency in HR, it's great to see that they are taking the next step and helping their employees find affordable housing. So.
I love the Breakers.
Gene, I had some of those exact same concerns, truly. But then when I was reflecting on it, the reality is, well, the Breakers in Palm Beach, a lot of the workers live in West Palm Beach, and it's for them that this project's for. Is how I like to think of it. But I had some of those exact concerns that you raised.
So what's the median income that applies here from Palm Beach Breakers?
Yes, never mind. All right. Any other discussion? And if not, I'm looking for a motion for approval.
I'll
That
make a
someone needs
motion.
to read. I guess, Sam, we need two motions. Would that be correct? Yes.
You want to do it? That's not the one, no.
I don't know. Do you want to do it, Peter?
Well, give him a chance.
Okay.
Give me a chance.
Yes,
Thanks.
since they have the parking lots you adore.
Thanks, buddy. So am I doing this first one for the, no, this is SF14. That's a different one.
The future land use map amendment.
Which page?
If someone has it handy,
You got it ready, Peter?
Page 123.
page 123. He's going to hold it. Look, Sam comes to our rescue.
Uh-oh,
Sam
something's,
tries to make us look good. It's a full-time job.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay, all right.
All right. I move that the planning board recommend to the city commission approval of a two-part request by Tyler Woolsey of Urban Design Studio, along with Spina O'Rourke and Partners, on behalf of the city of West Palm Beach and VDG Land Co. LLC for the following. One, planning board case number 2010 FLU 250300004, a small-scale future land use FLU map amendment to change the FLU designation of the subject property from community service and commercial to multifamily to allow the proposed 155-unit multifamily residential development. Two, planning board case number 2010A RZ 250300009, a rezoning to change the zoning designation of the subject property from recreation and open space, ROS, and neighborhood commercial, NC, to multifamily high-density residential, MF32, to allow the proposed 155-unit multifamily residential development. The motion is based upon the testimony presented at the hearing, along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. The Planning Board hereby makes finding of fact that the application complies with the required standards in Policy 1.1.5 of the City of West Palm Beach Comprehensive Plan and Section 94-32A of the City of West Palm Beach Zoning and Land Development Regulations.
All right.
Second?
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Wait a second.
Aye.
Ooh, excuse us.
So are there required conditions?
We did have a condition, did we not? So we want to amend the motion to include the required condition? Okay, go ahead and make.
So I'm amending the motion to include the conditions. In addition, the recommendation is made subject to the conditions of approval contained in the staff report dated July 15th, 2025. I move that these conditions are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the zoning and land development regulations and consistency with the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach.
Who was the one who seconded this motion? Okay, do you accept the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. We have an amended motion and second. We're going to call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next motion. We got two of them, Will. What's that? We have a second one now.
No, that's it.
That was both of them together.
We're all combined?
Yeah, we
Oh,
did one and
excellent.
two.
I thought you said we needed two.
Yeah.
Well, two separate ones, no? I see, we did one vote. Okay, excellent. All right, thank you so much. Let's move on then. Let's see, that then brings us to code revision cases, and we're going to start with code revision case 2506. Is that right? Next, okay.
Good evening again, Planning Board members. For the record, Kevin DeFrank, Senior Planner with the Development Services Department, and I will be presenting the latest iteration of the proposed public-initiated text amendment request that involves the proposed North Flagler Overlay District. So the boundary of the proposed North Flagler Overlay District remains the same as previously presented, and as you see outlined here. And the intent of the proposed regulations remains the same as previously presented. And with the development regulations, no properties will be rezoned, no existing approvals, entitlements will be revoked. However, the floor area ratio variances, front and side setback variances, height variances, and new plan developments are prohibited with the proposed development regulations. The proposed pedestrian connection requirement remains the same as previously presented. And the proposed maximum floor area ratio limitations of 2.5 and 3.0 remain the same as previously presented. And the proposed conditional minimum front and side setback requirements as shown on the table remain the same. However, we have further refined the language of the footnote to read as such: a minimum 20-foot side setback requirement for lots less than or equal to 100 feet in width. For parking uses only, a minimum 15-foot side setback requirement for lots less than or equal to 150 feet in width, but parking uses shall not exceed a maximum height of 50 feet. And here's a visual representing the proposed conditional front setback requirements. And as you can see, the proposed conditional front setback requirements increase as the height of the building increase. And this is another visual representing the proposed conditional setback requirements. And the proposed exterior lighting illumination limitation remains the same as previously presented. And with every iteration, we've identified the permitted base height of 40 feet. Now, with this latest iteration, we've made it clearer in terms of the maximum building height limitation, which includes 240 feet height limitation for properties or for buildings located on properties with an aggregate of upland and submerged land acreage of less than 2.5 acres, and a maximum building height limitation of 300 feet for buildings located on properties with an aggregate of upland and submerged land acreage of 2.5 acres or more. So there's no confusion. And the proposed height bonus incentive involves a monetary contribution to the city of $10.98 per square foot of gross building area above the permitted base height for, or credit of $10.98 per square foot of gross building area above the permitted base height for the actual construction of improvements to the infrastructure within the area bounded by the city limits to the north, Broadway to the west, the Intracoastal Waterway to the east, and 36th Street to the south. And this area that I've identified in red extends beyond the proposed boundaries of the North Flagler Overlay District. And this is the breakdown that was used in calculating the amount of $10.98 per square foot of gross building area. And the proposed architectural design standards remain the same as previously presented. And the proposed multifamily residential use minimum and maximum parking requirements as shown in the table remain the same as previously presented. And the proposed parking screening requirements that includes an active use liner building remains the same as previously presented. And the proposed active use liner minimum area requirements of 60% and 80% remain the same as previously presented. And the proposed streetscape requirements along North Flagler Drive remain the same as previously presented, which requires a 12-foot wide multi-purpose pathway, a 7-foot wide landscape area, street lighting improvements along North Flagler. And staff finds this request complies with all the amendment standards found in the city zoning and land development regulations, and therefore staff recommends approval of the proposed text amendment request. And here's the tentative schedule for this effort to proceed. And that concludes staff's presentation.
All right, any questions? Let's start on this end. Okay, Peter?
Kevin, the half-a-foot candle that you put in on the property line, isn't that already in the zoning code?
Say that again?
The half-a-foot candle for the lighting?
No, that's not already within the,
There's nothing in the city's code?
there's something in the city's code, but that's only in regards to planned developments. There's a 1-foot lighting candle requirement for planned developments.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? You want more parking, right? No?
So a couple questions, just so I understand clearly, the setback, the step-up setback, if you can go way back to that visual.
The layer cake.
Yeah, thank you. Well, the other one, actually, if you keep going back, because I think the other one makes it easier for me to understand it.
Which one?
Keep going. That one. Okay, so basically, when you're looking at the less than 2.5 acres between upland and submerged and more than 2.5 acres upland submerged, will determine whether your building looks like the pancake closest to the street versus the majority of the building being on the water.
Not necessarily.
You would have more like a step up like that other visual.
So this includes all buildings, regardless of the size of the property.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then you were talking about the side setbacks for the parking, and then you said not to exceed, what was it, 50 feet?
Yes. The height of the parking uses.
Okay, so if the lot is less than 100 feet in width, they have a minimum 20-foot setback.
A minimum 15-foot setback for parking uses only.
It's a minimum side setback requirement for lots. Forgive me, I haven't taken
It's okay.
math in a long time. So is that great? Is that the greater end or the lesser symbol?
It's the lesser end. So,
Okay, so for lots less than or equal to 100 feet in width, they have a minimum 20-foot setback on each side.
so it's 15 for parking uses on both sides.
Okay, so the 20-foot is the setback, but the 15 is the minimum for parking.
For parking, yes. Correct.
Okay. Okay. Then the last question I had is on the 1098, how long is that number fixed in the code? Is that fixed forever when you vote on this?
So I
Please
think
state your name for the record and your title.
Ana Maria Ponte, Development Services Director. Thank you. For the fee, I think what we would like to do is set it in the code, and because the capital improvements will get updated, they are usually updated every 5 years. We could be adjusted as it is recalculated after the 5 years,
Okay.
based on the capital improvement plan.
So, I mean, why wasn't it set up as an inflation-adjusted fee? Because your construction costs are not going to stay stagnant. You're doing 1098 on 21 million, right? And you're saying for the next 5 years, we're going to be at 1098. And if you look at prices that have increased on the south end of West Palm Beach, we're up way more,
We can do that.
right?
I think it's a
So I would like to see that number be inflation-adjusted.
cost of living adjustment.
Yeah, because your construction costs are going to rise regardless.
Yep.
So to have it as 1098 for 5 years is going to shoot the city in the foot.
Yeah, we can do that.
Great.
No problem.
All right, Patrick,
I have no questions.
Jean,
No question.
TK.
No questions.
Okay. So I have one card from the public, and that is Angela Osborne. I'm not sure if you want me to read the comment in or whether you want to come forward. Please do. Is anyone else wish to be heard on this matter? Have you completed a card, sir? Please go ahead and do so, but you can come up after her and then be sure to fill in the card before you leave. Anyone else want to be heard besides those two? All right, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you all. I'm Angela Ogburn. I'm president of Northwood Harbor. I'm also here with fellow board members, and we want to thank Kevin DeFrank and Anna Aponte for really working with our community and creating this Northwood Flagler District. We also want to thank you for listening and helping tweak it also. We're happy to hear that this overlay will help establish a shared vision and create a greater physical predictability for the new construction coming into our community. There is one little thing where the incentives are going to 36th Street. We'd like to keep them north and really make sure it focuses on our neighborhood. But other than that, we're very happy with what's going on here. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, sir, would you like to come forward? That's fine, you can complete that afterwards. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening, I'm John Fiala. I'm on the board of the Regency Surf and Racquet Club, 4500 North Flagler Drive. First, would like to commend Mr. DeFrank. He's done a great job managing this, and he's been extremely responsive and helpful along the way. So you got a good one there. Take good care of him.
All right, we'll do our best.
Okay. I have some questions about some of the slides, if you may. Slide number-
Sir, if you don't mind, make your comments. You feel free to talk to him afterwards, but this is your chance to offer testimony.
I have a few questions rather than testimony.
Okay, I'll tell you what, since it's just two people, why don't you go ahead and we'll do the best we can. You can come forward. We'll keep this somewhat informal.
Okay,
Go ahead.
thank you for your flexibility. I appreciate it. I'm kind of new at this. Slide number 4 on development regulations. Yes, under items prohibited, land development regulations. I think it's slide number 4. Yes, that's right there. So no properties will be rezoned. So after this goes in, no developer will be able to try to get a property rezoned for purpose of development? Is that?
No. Developers or property owners will be able to rezone their property or request to rezone their property, but this specific North Flagler Overlay District would not result in a rezoning of properties.
Okay, so if you were trying to develop something within the overlay district, would you be able to request a rezoning?
Yes.
You would, okay.
Yes.
And then on the last bullet where it says prohibited new planned developments, I'm assuming that doesn't mean that new developments will not be possible.
So that means rezoning requests for planned development zoning districts would be prohibited. So if a property owner wanted to request to rezone from MF32 to a planned development or residential planned development, that would be prohibited. That would not be allowed.
Okay, very good, thank you. That answers my questions.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. All right. Anyone else wish to be heard? And if not, we'll bring it back to the board. This is the third time this matter has come before us. We've given a lot of input. They've made changes in response to the input. Does anyone have any concerns at this point?
Let's move it before they change it again.
I know. All right. Looking for a motion.
I move that the planning board recommends to the city commission approval of code revision case number 25-06, a city-initiated request involving a text amendment to the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations. Chapter 94, Article 2, Section 94-36, Special Use Review, Sections 9438, Variances, and Sections 9457, North Flagler Overlay District Development Review Process. Article 7, Section 94-236, North Flagler Overlay District, and Article 19, Sections 94-611, Definitions, to introduce and establish development regulations for the North Flagler Overlay District. The motion is based on the testimony presented at the hearing along with the application submitted and the staff report would constitute competent substantial evidence. Planning board hereby makes finding of the fact that the application complies with the required standard of sections 94-32A of the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations.
Before we have a second, do we need to address Will's suggestion about the inflation thing?
Cost
Should we make that
adjustment?
part of the motion, or is that something you handle administratively?
You can do it as part of the motion.
So you want to amend your motion to include that?
What wording?
I would feel more comfortable if we did it.
Inflation adjusted for the 1098.
Yes. That
Yeah, so just go to the slide and then,
You maybe can suggest wording for the amendment of the motion. But it would be, let's see, the monetary contribution to the city of 1098 per square foot of gross building area would be adjusted for inflation.
And, yeah.
or-
Annual.
Can be
adjusted
adjusted
annually
annually?
for
Okay.
inflation from the date of approval by city commission.
Yeah,
Okay.
annual inflation.
Okay?
Is that good
All right.
enough, or you want me to?
So,
Work for you, Sam?
okay, so with that amendment,
Yep.
we now have the motion. Have we a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, I think then we're left.
Really appreciate all your work on this.
All right, that brings us then to planning board case number code revision case number 2504. And this is a request by Lindsay Jean Lewis of Urban Design Studio on behalf of Huzanka Holdings, Inc. See, it was good you mentioned that, to remind me. Good to mention that you did, so we got it in the motion.
Hello, good evening. Ken Tuma with Urban Design Studio. Address is 610 Clematis Street, West Palm. Sworn in. Thank you for having me here today, here on behalf of Huizinga Holdings and also the contract purchaser of these potential units that are under discussion, or GL Homes. Mr. Jean-Louis is in the audience tonight, and he will be happy to answer any questions that you may have, and we have our whole team assembled. What's in front of you this evening is a text amendment, a request to modify 2 zoning districts within the city, single family 7 and single family 14. The purpose of this, and it's very location-based, and I will show you the location of it, is to allow for a redevelopment to occur. And it's a really interesting redevelopment. When you go back through the history, the site that I'm going to show you is actually based on a 1916 plat that was never redone, and there are 25-foot wide lots on that plat. But this code amendment will allow for redevelopment of that area. So allow me to walk you through a few slides and show you the proposal. So as I said a little earlier, identified on the screen is the physical request that is in front of you. Also, just to let you know, we do have a concurrent plat application in for all the lots east of Spruce Street. Because of that 25-foot wide lot, we're actually going to be requesting a plat to replat that area also. So more specifically, the reason why we're here, as I stated earlier, is because of that 1916 plat and the patterns that were developed from it. Also, you have to recognize that the homes that are built in that area actually don't fit within your zoning code today. They were all built prior to the zoning code. It was all built a long time ago. And this creates a unique reinvestment opportunity in the property that the Huizinga Holding family has owned and controlled for many years. And this will also spur infill redevelopment of that area. So on the screen in front of you is the location that the proposal is, going from 40th Street to the north, 45th Street to the south, west of Flagler Drive, and east of Broadway. You will note on the screen different colors. The different colors are B-Mud and purple. You've actually already transmitted some changes to that effectuate the type of development that's going to occur. And then in the bottom, you'll notice the yellow. That's a single-family zoning district of 14 that exists on those lots today. And then to the north is single-family 7. The area, the request of these changes specifically criteria-based to this area. While Huizinga Properties doesn't control all these lots will benefit from the potential change. Here is that plat referenced earlier on the right-hand side, the 1960 plat of North Palm Beach. That plat, 20-foot wide lots, 105 feet deep. And you can notice that all done by hand, by the way, in 1916. And I was talking to Lency about it, and he said, well, Ken, well, I'm like, well, it was actually done by hand when I started my career, but that's a different story.
Yeah, they had all day to do this.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, 1916, World War II, or World War I was in progress. And a lot of things have changed in the city of West Palm Beach. 109 years have gone by. So on the bottom left-hand side is kind of the current condition. Those lots have been combined. We're not exactly sure how they've been combined. The majority of them have been constructed as 50-foot wide lots. It's not consistent through the area. There aren't unity of titles. We're not exactly sure what occurred through the whole process, of course, going through the course of time. But those are the current lots that are out and exist there today. And what's interesting, and I'll get into a little bit more detail of this, there's been some land transfers between next door neighbors. I mean, nothing is perfect out there. So redevelopment, nothing's perfect. So one of the reasons why we're requesting the change is the change is on the screen in front of you. This was a suggestion from your staff, and it was a great suggestion. We did a windshield survey and also did a GIS survey of the area. We didn't pull title for each lot, but we looked at every lot. And on the screen in front of you in red, we identify what don't meet the front and side setback. 80 of 150 lots don't meet those requirements today. And in the front setback, 12 of the lots don't meet those, it's just by itself. and then 32 don't meet the corner setbacks. Bottom line, of the 150 applicable lots that are out there, 61% are not in compliance with a front setback requirement, and 75% aren't required from their side and corner. Point being, this code modification will allow those homes to redevelop also. So these are the properties that are controlled by the Huizinga Group, and as I mentioned, GL Homes has a portion of them under contract to construct, hopefully some beautiful new homes. You'll note a pretty significant number of lots are controlled by the Huizinga Group, but there are lots that are not, and they will all participate in this potential change. In front of you is a bunch of words, and I'm not going to walk you through the words. I got pictures coming up. These are the proposed changes. Let me just walk you through them one by one graphically. The first one is a minimum width and size. First thing, it's important to note, the minimum width in the zoning district, both in 7 and 14, is 60 feet. All those lots are 50 feet. So that's number one request change. We're requesting reduce it down to 50 feet. We're actually specifically asking you to go to 49 feet because, as I mentioned a little earlier, some of those lots might have traded a little foot here and there. So we're not exactly sure how it's going to work. So the request is to go down to 49 feet to give us a little bit of flexibility in case some of the lot lines had changed going through the course of time. Also, there's a lot area requirement. The lot area requirement is 6,000 feet. These lots aren't 6,000 feet, they're approximately 5,000 square feet or a little bit more. So that's the first change in the zoning code that's being requested. The next change is the setbacks. And this is directly related to what exists there today, and then also how to construct a lot on a 50-foot wide lot. These are the 50-foot wide lot. The requirement, if you do a 60-foot wide lot, is to go have a 25-foot setback. Our request is to have a 20-foot setback to the garage, and then to have an 18-foot setback to the house. That'll allow a little bit of separation and allow that front to come out nice, and it'll be fairly consistent with what's out there today. The next one are side setbacks. The way the code works on a 60-foot wide lot in the city is you have to have 5 feet on one side, 10 feet on the other for a total of 15 feet. Well, our request, which is consistent with generally what is built there, and the fact that this is a 50-foot wide lot, is to do 5 feet on one side and 5 feet on the other. And just so we're clear, we're not requesting 0 lot lines. The buildings will be centered in the lot, and there will still be that 5 feet on both sides to allow for that style of development. It's also important to note that the lots are 105 feet deep. On rear setbacks, the rear setback on that 60-foot wide lot, again, is a 15-foot requirement. Our request is to go 10 feet. And when I show you an aerial, you will note that many of the buildings out there are much less than 10 feet of rear setback. On corner setbacks, the code's 12.5 feet on a corner setback. We're requesting to allow along Spruce, only on Spruce, to go to 5 feet, consistent with generally how it's constructed in that area. Also important to note that your staff picked up, and a great point the code requires, there will be a 50-foot visibility triangle located on those lots. And as part of these conditions, it is very clear that the driveway must be on the opposite side from that visibility triangle. That way no cars are parked in the driveway. That will block the visibility. So here's the corner setbacks on a plat that are adjacent to Spruce. Accessory setbacks. The code allows for accessory setbacks. Accessory setbacks include such things as screen enclosures for pools, whatever it may be. We're consistent with your code, with the exception along those corner lots on Spruce. And with that reduction from that 12.5-foot setback, it makes sense that the accessory structure would be exactly the same as the setback, which is consistent with the code. Okay, front yard. So this involves landscaping, and allow me to walk you through this. So basically, Table 3 requires that 60% of the front yard being the front of the home, that 60% of the front yard 60% of the front yard be green area with a permeable paver system. Our request, and that request is specifically for one model, is to reduce that down by 15% to go with the permeable pavers. I'm going to walk you through a drawing of why we're requesting that and why that's so important. Also, as part of that, the maximum driveway width would need to change. There is one model that GL's proposing. There are 7 homes being proposed, but there is one model. It's a 3-car model, a 3-car garage model with 2 stories that we need to have a larger driveway for. It has a double garage on one side and a single garage in the middle. And in between, there's a proposal to have a landscape strip. So the request is to reduce the amount of front yard landscape from 60% to 40%, and to also allow the aggregate of that driveway to be 26 feet. The code is 20 feet today. Now, when you look at this, you'll see on the screen, here's a 16-foot driveway, here's an 8-foot driveway. It actually adds up to about 24.2 feet of what being proposed. But in the middle, there's a landscape strip on purpose. Why is this important? Why are you requesting 3-car garages? Why are you doing this? It's pretty simple in the big picture of things. We know, GL knows from their marketing that this is going to be a family area, and families want to live in this area. What a great way to reinvest in this area, to have families and young families. From my own life experience, I've learned some lessons, and I know some of you have too, along the way. When you had your kids home from college, all of a sudden you had 4 cars in the driveway versus 2, right, when you bought the house. So at my house, I have 4 cars now in the driveway. And so the goal here is to allow for cars to be in that driveway and to be in those 3-car garage. And why is that important for the area? It's important for the area because, I'll show you some pictures, there's a parking problem there today. And the GL project, by the nature of the way that GL builds and constructs their home, they also have restrictive covenants on their property that require those garages not to be storage, but to be used for vehicles. All of a sudden, you're taking some cars off the street to create more flexibility in this area that's not there today. And also, I just want to show you a slide. While not perfect, this shouldn't probably be a palm tree, it probably should be an oak tree. The minimum landscape requirements can be met, in fact, exceeded. And those who are familiar with GL homes, they exceed everything when it comes to landscaping. So here's what we got today. I want everybody to look at this. This is really important because this is what our job in infill redevelopment. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to make it better than what it is today and then have a significant reinvestment. The addresses are on the screen in front of you. You can see the significant amount of pervious area on both of these particular homes. Here you can see this is a beautiful house here. You'll notice a driveway. It basically becomes a storage in the front yard. A lot of pervious areas throughout the entire area. Some of the lots, some of the homes actually don't really have a driveway. They have all grassed area, but guess what? They're parking on the street. And this is kind of a little look at some other areas of the community. What a great picture here, families playing. And but notice all the cars in that family home in the background. This car is not in the driveway. You can see the significant amount of parking here. So that's the existing condition. So when we come in front of you for a zoning text amendment, there are code requirements and specific conditions for zoning text amendment. They're on the screen in front of you. It's 9432A of your zoning code. I'm not going to walk you through it. Your staff agrees. We comply with all the conditions. We have a condition of approval from your staff on this particular project that we're to continue to work with. We're generally in agreement. We're going to continue working with staff on how to achieve the condition of approval. We also have your staff recommendation of approval, and we have our whole team assembled, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have tonight. Looking forward, hopefully, to your recommendation to City Council. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Let's start with you, Will, first.
Me?
Questions? Yeah. I'm going, not always from the out in, but the in out. Right. So we'll start here.
So are the houses proposed single family?
They are, yes, sir, correct.
All single family?
All single family, in SF7 and SF14, all single family.
So why are you qualifying with that?
Because B-MUD along the road potentially could have townhomes. And that's not necessarily GL, that could be another developer, just that B-MUD area does allow town. The purple area.
The change that you're asking for tonight is for single family, not multifamily?
Correct.
Okay. On the corners of Spruce, you're saying it's currently 20 and that you want to knock it down to 5?
The code is 12 and a half. A lot of the homes that are out there today are at 5.
Okay,
And
and
we
you're
want to
proposing
keep
it to be
it
what?
there at 5. And we want to keep it at 5.
Keep it at 5, okay. And then you want the current setbacks on the sides are, what, 15 total or 10?
10 total, 5 on each side.
That's what you're requesting?
Yes,
but
sir.
What is the code now?
The code for a 60-foot wide lot is 10 and 5, and in the code in this area, even though the lot's 50 feet, would still be 10 and 5, and our request is to make it 5 and 5.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Patrick, any questions?
I do. I have a number of concerns. I see what you're doing here, generally speaking. I think given the nonconformity, this is certainly a way to make these more appealing to redevelopment. But I deal with this every day in dealing with the single-family setbacks, and 5 foot is somewhat problematic because if you think about the sides, typical development patterns, the sides typically where we'll locate mechanical equipment and whatnot, it's almost impossible to locate a condensing unit in a 5-foot setback between your neighbor, between a fence to have any sort of landscape buffer, and to get the mechanical clearance of the unit so that it, the longevity of the unit. There's really not enough space, and then you end up running into issues where you can't service the unit without having access to the code required service clearance unless you're relying on your neighbor's property to access that. So I think I would certainly probably not support 5 feet on both sides, because the 5 feet, if you got 2 neighbors trying to do the same thing on the same setback, it basically becomes impassable if you locate any equipment in that side yard back to back. And the same thing with the overhangs. If you look at, we allow a 3-foot overhang encroaching into the setback. So technically someone could potentially build 2 units where the roofs are almost, are no more than 4 feet apart, which that in and of itself violates fire code separation requirements. So there's a lot of functional problems and code problems, building code problems with allowing for the reduction of these setbacks on both sides. I certainly could support, reducing it on one side, reducing the cumulative on one side, or reducing the overall cumulative to give you more room to breathe. But I don't think you can ignore these functional requirements. It's very concerning that we would allow the same setback on a street-facing condition. I understand Spruce is, different, has a generous right-of-way, but similarly, I feel it would be terrible to have equipment located in a side yard, basically right on the sidewalk. I think that's not contributing to the character of the neighborhood. So I would think if you allowed 5 feet on Spruce, you probably would want to restrict the location of mechanical equipment.
On the interior side.
My third point is on the driveway, and we've dealt with this. I deal with this all the time. That 20-foot, I wish I could get more. I'm working on the more generous, single-family 7 lots, but we're required everywhere else to limit to 20 feet cumulative curb cut. And I get the concept we want to pull the cars off the street, but I hate the condition of you get that more than 20 feet. It just looks like the whole front yard becomes pavement at that point. So I was curious if you were mandating that 26 feet would require a break, so it's not a continuous 26-foot cut, or are you allowing additional cut, but breaking it up?
There's a definitely required break. It's a 3.5-foot break in the middle, so it would be one driveway. I'm not sure I'm answering the question.
Got it.
One driveway and then another driveway into a single car, and then, I'm sorry, Commissioner Mayfield, go ahead, sir. Sorry.
Understood. Yeah, I can support that in this case with that condition, but I think these side setbacks are just not going to work functionally. You're going to come into a lot of issues with the building code and separation of buildings, serviceability of equipment, and access to the property.
If I can respond to that, I'm going to ask Kevin to come up from GL because they've built thousands of houses that 5-foot setbacks. But let me address the first one. Your comment's well taken about Spruce and where the location of the equipment is. That certainly, because the driveway is going to be driveway right, or for example, if it's in front of us, driveway right, there's no reason why the equipment can't be on the driveway side. And I'm going to ask Kevin to come up and address a little bit about 5-foot setbacks, if you don't mind, unless you want me to do it. You know a little more about building than I do.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Kevin Rattery, Vice President with GL Homes of Florida, 1600 Sawgrass Corporate Parkway, Suite 150, Sunrise, Florida 33323. I have been sworn in. I think I was supposed to say that as well. So this is our first foray into the city of West Palm Beach and the partnership with the Heisinger Group. To be clear, the 5-foot side setback does comply with Florida building code, depending on the type of construction. So we are doing 5-foot side setbacks and other communities that we build in, inclusive of Apex at Avenir's 5-foot side setbacks. You are correct that when you have the same model side by side and the homeowner requests the flip, you could have a situation where you have the equipment side by side on the same side of the house, and it does result in a smaller area for service of the unit. So what we typically do is when we have a homeowner that, a buyer, not a homeowner, a buyer that requests the same unit side by side, we require the unit to be flipped so that we don't have that situation. We are, by the way, using the Daikin air condensers, which are, if you haven't seen those, they actually look like a suitcase. They're not the square anymore, they're the suitcase. I actually have one in my house. So we are aware of the conflicts that are potentially created, and so we try to, as part of our sales effort and design, cover the issue of those equipment situations that are created. So hope that answers your question. Not sure it addresses your concern, but I think we are obviously aware of those issues because we've dealt with them in other communities, and you're correct that they can present themselves if you're not thinking your way through those issues as you do your sales and do your design.
All right. Any further questions, Patrick? Were they covered? Okay. All right. All right, thanks so much. Gene, any questions?
No, I have the same concerns as Patrick with the setback.
Okay. TK, any questions?
There's no alleys in this neighborhood, right? Because I know there's on the southern, but there's no alleys in this area. And then do the amendments, would they apply to zoning in other areas of the city? How do we make sure that just want to, I see you shaking your head. No, I just want to get some clarity.
No
on
problem,
how this
sir.
applies.
There's very specific language that identifies, and
Okay.
and your staff will agree, from 40th north to 45th south, 45th Street south, west of North Flagler, and east of Broadway is the only area that's impacted by this. And I could walk you through the words if you like.
No, that's fine. I'll take your word for it. And then would the number of parcels or lots or homes change?
I don't know. They don't.
So
Actually.
there'd
I'm
be-
just thinking it through. I don't think the numbers generally stay the same.
Okay.
Generally, I don't want to be specific because there might be a foot or two that gets exchanged among lots.
Sure, but I just want to,
The density, if the
The-
question you're
is
asking
density,
is
yes.
the density is less than the original plat, absolutely.
it is. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions, TK? Okay.
I just wanted to clarify this 5-foot setback. We're talking about properties only along Spruce Street.
So two topics on the 5-foot setback. I
Okay.
think what Mr. Mayfield was saying was he doesn't like the concept of 5 feet in between the houses. So so the way it works, Vice Chairman Pivko, is the code for a 60-foot lot requires a total of 15 feet, and our request, 50-foot lot, is to go 5 and 5 on both sides. The secondary correlation of that is a discussion about spruce, but I think you were asking the in between.
So
a
it's
total of
not
10
just the
feet.
lots along Spruce? Okay.
Any other questions? No. Deborah? Okay. I don't know if it's even required or relevant. Do you have any like depictions of the type of houses you want to build? Because you're asking these requests to accommodate a kind of house. It'd be interesting to see what it is that you're trying to create.
I don't have any with me. I don't
All right.
think, unless Kevin has them with him, we definitely don't have them in the PowerPoint.
All right, that's
But
fine.
I mean, I think a good example of a home. You have one? You have
I guess they would only be proposed if the sale occurs and the amendment.
I mean, one of the challenges, for example, the point, I understand that jail homes may build it a certain way, but we're making rules that apply to everyone, and they may not always follow it, or whoever
Right.
owns it later may replace the smaller unit with a normal size unit, and some of the concerns Patrick has, would apply.
Yeah, and I appreciate what Kevin said and what Patrick said, because we've run into this all the time in subdivisions on how to handle equipment on the sides of homes. It's always very challenging, and the way to do it is exactly how Kevin articulated. We typically end up doing is putting the equipment on one side to allow the other side to be free, and that.
Right. Well, I understand as a practice, but the rules won't require it, is what I'm trying to say.
Understood.
And maybe there's a way, if you're open to it and the city's open to it, we can amend it and say where it's this way and they do it that way, then they can't have, where it would be tied to what they actually do, because your concerns are very valid.
Or just allow for a slightly greater setback.
I'm so sorry.
Allow for a slightly greater setback than what they're asking to alleviate some of those concerns.
Okay, fair enough. All right, may we hear from staff then?
Let me ask one more question.
No, go ahead. Yes. Well, let's bring it back up. So be one question. Will has a follow-up question he'd like to ask.
Staff,
Ken, if you don't
1 second.
mind, Ken, Will has one more question if you come forward. Yeah.
So right now, the properties that are outlined in this sketch, is that the totality of properties owned by Huizinga Holdings? No, is it the totality of properties owned by Huizinga Holdings, or are there more to be presented in the future?
That area, that's all. In that area, that's the only property that Huizinga owns. I don't know if they own other properties, but in that area, those are the properties that they own.
Okay, so in this section that you're showing, that's the totality of properties that they currently hold?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Do you want to add something, sir?
I want to make sure the record's really clear here. Again, Kevin Rattery, Huizinga is out there talking with property owners on a daily basis. So in
You
between
may be
the
adding
time,
to that list. is what
in
you're
between
saying,
the
but
time this application was filed, I can already see that, several of the lots were built as multifamily rental units, and they've already acquired those lots. They're on the west side of Spruce, so they're not in the current application for the plat east of Spruce. So just so the record's clear,
No, thank you.
it does contain a few more lots because they've acquired them since we started this process.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
All right, if we can then hear from the city staff.
All right, good day, everyone. Jermaine Swaby, Planning and Zoning Senior Planner for the record. And I'll be following up on the applicant's presentation for Code Revision Case number 25-04. So just to summarize, the request is to revise and reduce the dimensional requirements relating to the minimum lot dimensions, the minimum front, side, and rear setbacks for the principal building, the required landscaped area within the front yard, and the maximum driveway width. So as previously presented by the applicant, a study of the setbacks for the existing structures within the subject area was conducted. And staff analyzed the data, which indicated that the average front setback within the area is around 17.7 feet, which is close in range to the proposed 18-foot setback. Also, staff did an estimate of the decrease in buildable area with a proposed decrease in setback for the typical 50 by 105 feet lot with the increased buildable area shown in yellow on your screen. The reduction in the setbacks would result in an increase in buildable area of 627 square feet or more for the larger lots. So staff would like to add that there are some concerns with the request, which will require additional discussions and follow-up from the applicant. One is the maintenance of the neighborhood character with regards to the landscaping and tree canopy in the front yard, which they touched on. And two is ensuring that the changes will not negatively affect stormwater storage capacity due to the permeability within the subject area. So I have a diagram in front of you. So it shows 3 scenarios. So the first is for, each of them is for a typical 50-foot wide lot. And the first one on the far right that you're seeing is for the 75% landscaping, which is required for the front yard based on the current code. In the middle, you have the 60% landscaping with the provision of pavers with the current code. So the current code allows you to reduce reduction to 60% based on the provision of permeable pavers. And the 45% with the provision of pavers is what they're proposing with the reduced setback based on the text amendment, and that is illustrated on the far left. So you get an imagery of all 3 scenarios. So I would like to add that there are some, that based on the concerns that were mentioned, staff would like to follow up with the applicant to provide a pre versus post build-out stormwater study to assess impacts, increased pervious and building footprint of existing infrastructure. I've also added to each of you the table where you'll have the correspondence with engineering based on the request here. So there were some minor changes made to the amended text in staff support. So for section 94-72B and 94-74B, staff has removed the sentence regarding the visibility triangle. Which one? Okay. So just to correct, the first sentence here, the 20-foot visibility triangle shall be dedicated in favor of the city of West Palm Beach. That will be removed. And we're keeping no driveways may be located within the required 20-foot visibility triangle. But just to reiterate, that 20-foot visibility triangle is a standard within the city, which must be upheld in the code. Also, as you can see here, there is additional amendment to the text here, which was added in error and has been removed for consistency with the request. Okay. All right, so staff finds that the proposed text amendment meets the amendment standards found in section 94-32 of the zoning and land development regulations, and therefore staff is recommending approval of code revision case 25-04. And just to note, I've added to each of your desks the motion page as well. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Before we head to the comments, do you want to address the issues that was raised by Patrick on the 5-foot? What are your thoughts on that, of the city's position?
So staff actually consulted with the building department, and they said that it does meet the building code, and we do have presently lots which do have that 5-foot separation from the lot line. So it's something that does exist, and building department did mention that it's allowed.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's start here.
I find this very eye-opening. I know that West Palm Beach hasn't made more land lately, so It's very interesting how you're coming back into an existing urban structure and trying to come up with a very modern design for the housing. I don't have an issue with a 5-foot setback. I think it's very innovative. But my question to you or to the new director is the city considering an overall overlay zoning now that this is taking place for the area?
No, this is just for this particular area because of the particular circumstances.
Okay.
If you look at this area, for example, north of this, the north end, this is the only section that is not historic east of Broadway. So that's one of the reasons why this is subject to this. It's not protected by the historic preservation and the character is not as strong. So there are other circumstances that are prone for making this area for redevelopment, and the conditions of the structures that are in there are also kind of what is guiding this.
Right. Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Deborah, any questions?
Of course I have questions. So since the bulk of the lots in this area are 25 feet, how does what we are talking about tonight affect them?
In addition to this request, separately, they're requesting a subdivision application which would combine the lots and therefore would be consistent with the request that they have today.
So the bulk of those lots are going to get combined?
Correct.
Okay.
So
this is really just step one, and we wouldn't have known that unless we asked the questions.
So it's in the report. I did mention that they did have a concurrent subdivision application which does combine the lots. So you have you'll see they're mainly 25 foot based on the original subdivided lot lines, and then they combine it to 50 feet.
Okay, so bulk of those 25s are going to get combined into 50s, and then they'll be able to move forward with those based on this current, if we vote in favor of it tonight.
Correct.
Okay.
Just
Huh?
one.
Yeah, that's a very important component, which is part of the reason why I asked the question of how many other properties do they own? Because was this just step one for the foot in the door? What this feels like is a little bit disingenuous that we are voting on an entire neighborhood of Northwood instead of, typically we would see this come before us and you would have, we're asking for this block in this section, right? And then they would do the next one, and they would do the next one. Here, we're being asked to change the entire footprint of a neighborhood. And we're just being told now that there's a future plan to combine the lots.
Well, there's two different things. What you are looking today are basically the requirements for the minimum lot size and the setbacks. This area was platted as 25-foot lots, but they are actually right now developed the houses that have been developed they were developed on 50-foot wide properties. So, and we have discussed this with GL. From the city's perspective, the replat is not necessary. They can go ahead right now and develop those houses on those 50-foot wide because it's two lots, 225 combined as one parcel.
Okay, so why are we even hearing this matter if they can do that right now?
There's two
Because
different
GL is not the
things.
property owner.
One
yet.
is the replat. What you are hearing today is not the replat, is the minimum requirements for the lots in terms of minimum lot size, minimum width, and setbacks requirements that are different. And those, as they were explained before, for example, the SF7 and the SF14, they are applicable to the entire city. The lots on the south end are much larger than these ones. So that's why the amendments that they are proposing make more sense for this particular neighborhood, because the size of the lots are not 60. They were never 60.
Okay.
The depth is 105. That is way less than other properties in the rest of the city. So that's why it's a little bit tailored to this, because this neighborhood is different than the other ones. And the plat is, the replat that they are proposing is not in front of you today.
Okay. And there's no design of what the houses may look like?
They have submitted some designs for the building permit, but that is not purview of the board. They are basically single-family houses. The only thing that you will review, or actually you don't review, but is the setbacks.
Right.
And that's why you are being presented with the changes to the zoning and land development regulations to adjust the requirements for setbacks and lot size.
So you had presented about the 75% and the 60% and then the 18-foot. If you, from a staff planning perspective, could design that neighborhood, which one would your preference be? Aesthetically, I mean, thinking about the neighborhood and the character that you want to create, and now laying the overlay that the vast majority of this neighborhood is going to be redeveloped to have that look, right?
I think it's very subjective. So to state my opinion would, it would not be, pertinent to the.
Good for you, Jermaine.
To the okay.
That's the correct answer.
I mean, for me, 60% looks like the reasonable path. I think 18 looks a little short. My concern is, if you look at, I grew up in Staten Island, New York. If you look at the tract homes in Staten Island, New York, you had just enough room for your car to be in the driveway, and then your garage started. And every house down the row looked the exact same way. And it doesn't look like a neighborhood anymore. It looks like a planned, constructed development. And I think that's the beauty of West Palm Beach, especially in these older neighborhoods, is the eclecticness of the neighborhood. So having a driveway that's a little bigger allows you to have that neighborhood feel and not feel like you're in a planned development out west.
When you say bigger, is it depth or width?
Depth.
The depth. Oh.
The depth they're saying is 18 feet, right? The 60% is what, 20, how much? 25?
25.
And the 75% was how much?
It's the same. It's based on the current code, so it would be with 25-foot depth for both the 75% and the 60%.
But it was the landscaping calculation that changed that.
So I think there's two different things. One is the setback for the structure, and what they're proposing is to have the building at 18, but the garage actually is 20. So they will have to set back the garage a little bit, and that will give a little bit room to the car park and the driveway, the depth of the driveway.
But right now the code is 25.
The current one is 25. Yes.
25.
So
Okay.
they're asking for that reduction. The second thing that you're talking about is the width of that driveway, and it's the percentage of landscape on the front yard. And that's what Jermaine was explaining, that staff has a little bit of concern about to do two things. One is the reduction, the expansion of the driveway will reduce the amount of landscape. The current code requires 75% or 1,000 square feet, whatever is less. They are required, and the code allows a reduction to 60% of landscape when the pavers are permeable.
Okay.
And that is related to the storm system, right? They are requesting to reduce that to 45 with permeable pavers, but reduce the amount of percentage of landscape to 45. That definitely has an impact on the character of the neighborhood, because the amount of landscape available in front of each property will be less.
I got you.
And we have some concerns, and one of the conditions that was suggested as something that the applicant will continue working with the city is determining if they need to do a study to confirm that the pre and post storm system will work with the reduced percentage of landscape on those parcels due to the larger footprints of the houses and the reduction of the landscape on the front yard.
Okay.
And I can assure you that the cars parked in front of these homes are going to be much nicer than ones in Staten Island.
Any other questions, Bill? No? Patrick, any questions?
Yeah, my only question for staff is just, have we considered the possibility of other applicants requesting the same relief on similar non-conforming parcels throughout the city? They're going to look to this example, say, well, I have a 59-foot lot or, whatnot, and they got this relief here. There's certainly other areas of the city where I would imagine there's similar conditions, similar pockets with the same type of development pattern.
Angela Van, Planning and Zone Administrator. But you have to remember, citywide, you can build a house on a 50-foot wide lot. Anywhere in the city, if you got a platted, original, about 50 foot, you can build a house on it. Are you talking relief from the setback requirements?
Right, relief from the setbacks is what I'm referring to.
I mean, like anybody can come in and request a variance. I mean, you can't, even when you add on to any non-conforming or a house today, the addition has to meet the setbacks. But you're asking us, anybody can come in and
But
request a
you would be
variance.
theoretically increasing, the potential for other applicants to come in and say, because of our nonconformity being the grounds for hardship, a multitude of variance requests to reduce side setback requests because you've allowed it in this one case.
Well, again, like Anna said, we allowed it because in looking at this area, sandwiched between historic districts on both sides of it and the redevelopment potential of it, that's the way we looked at it. So any other neighborhood we see in the city of West Palm Beach, again, this is probably one of the few that have a lot of 50-foot wide lots, the way it's traditionally platted. If you go further to the south, most of those are larger lots. If you go, again, even if you get west of Broadway, you still got 50-foot wide lots in this area, just how it was done. So, again, I can't answer that question per se. Anybody can come in and request a variance for a side setback, show hardship. It's a smaller lot because the way the home was originally built, et cetera. That's the hardship that most people show when you get the older homes. So the way it was built a foot from the property line. I want to add on, have no room because it's a lot smaller. That's usually justification for getting a variance in the other areas of the city.
This just seems, to me, it seems a lot like we're doing spot zoning here. And when
Not changing the zoning, remember.
No, Will, in the sense of the term, that we're changing the rules for a very minute segment of the city fabric when these types of requests could theoretically come from many other neighborhoods on equal grounds.
Okay. I think we disagree on that, but okay.
Okay, any other questions, Patrick? Gene, any questions of staff?
Just clarification, so the Huizinga Group, they currently have ownership to these lots, correct? The majority of these lots?
Within the subject
Right.
area, we have
Is GL under contract with them? Is GL under contract with the Huizinga Group to purchase all of the lots?
So the understanding is that the applicant does own the lots. So the request is with the understanding that they have ownership of the lots that's requested. That's within
Right,
the
but
application.
GL is also in the conversation. So I guess I'm just wondering why maybe there's not a contract and GL wasn't the applicant. Because what would happen, or how would the city feel if this change happens and maybe GL didn't purchase the homes? Would the city be just as comfortable with the text amendment change?
Yeah, I don't think we are doing this because it's GL.
Okay.
I mean, the question is if it is appropriate for this neighborhood and it makes sense to do it in the light of, do we want to redevelop this neighborhood and promote the redevelopment of these houses? Even if, let's say, imagine GL homes get out of the picture.
Okay.
And then
So if the homes were individually owned,
Yeah,
so
individually
you
owned
would
and
be
they want to
okay, you would
redevelop.
be comfortable with this text amendment
Yeah,
change?
I think we need to look at it from that perspective. It's not because it's owned by GL.
All right, just to be clear, if the Huizinga Group turned around and they sold each individual lot to individual homeowners, would the city be comfortable with the text amendment change as is?
Yeah, I think we should look at it from that perspective.
But you're not
No,
answering
her
the question.
His question is, you're looking from that perspective. His question is, if GL were out of the picture, and now, are you still like this change? That's his question.
I think yes.
Okay.
I mean, like,
You kept
it is-
saying, though,
is it
we need to think of
appropriate
it
for
from
the
that
neigh-
perspective, but he wants to know, having thought from that perspective, what's your opinion? That was his question.
I mean, we have certain concerns about certain things that we're working
Right.
with them, but I think overall what was presented is like, in reality, the majority of the houses, for example, regarding the front setback, the majority of the houses built right now in that neighborhood do not comply with the front setback of 25.
Right.
So that is one of the main issues, the
Okay.
front setback.
All right,
How
Jean?
much driveway do we have or not? That is something we're working with them, but
Right.
but the setback is one of them.
Okay.
No
Any other
further
questions?
questions.
Gene, I'm sorry. Okay,
No
TK,
further
any questions? Okay, thank you so much. Would anyone from the public wish to be heard on this issue? And if not, we're going to bring it back to the board. I just want to make one general observation. And I'm very sensitive to the issues Patrick has raised, and I want to give it a lot of consideration. I do think, though, this potentially is an exciting opportunity. This is a unique part of the city, as they said, that's not an historic district, that's ripe for redevelopment. And I suspect the reason they're asking for this is they have some very specific products that they think are going to be very popular with buyers. And what an opportunity for the city of West Palm Beach to take an area and to transform it, you know, into something very exciting for the residents. That's why I was curious. I know you're correct. It's not part of our role here to see what those products are, but their requests are so specific. It's clear they have particular products in mind.
Yeah,
that
they have
think will do
implications.
well. I'm so sorry?
I think the choices we make certainly have implications on how
Absolutely,
that will
and I was
move.
curious whether or not, and I said, I really want to hear your thoughts on this, Patrick, because I give it a lot of respect and weight. I was curious if there's a way we could craft something that gives them a little more flexibility. For example, if they were to do a much smaller, like air conditioning unit, if that were like part of it, or if they agreed it would be on the other side or whatever, if that were a condition, could there be a little more flexibility as opposed to the general rule?
Right.
That raises your concern. I didn't know if that's possible.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point, and I do agree that this, generally speaking, the concept of this request is positive, and that it's much needed in this neighborhood.
Right.
But the perspective that I'm approaching this from is we don't need to codify issues, or codify allowances, if you will, that will create undesirable effects. You know, I think allowing, for example, potentially disallowing, prohibiting the placement of mechanical equipment in the corner side setback along Spruce would be to the advantage of the community. No one wants to be walking their dog, you know, walking by tons of condensing units, making all kinds of noise, et cetera, things like that. So I think, you know, you could tweak this request to give a little bit more space on the side setback, or at least on one side. I know that we need more than what's currently allowed, but if you grant for some variability and accounting for context, you know, if your neighbor's done one thing, you need to relocate on the opposite side or something to that effect. I think, you know, I'm not so concerned about the driveway size. I do get concerned when I hear the concept of three garage bays, because essentially this, setting up this rule the way it's being, you know, suggested with a 16-foot cut and an 8-foot cut, I don't know any homes in the Northwood Harbor, Northwood communities where you see 3 garage bays facing the street. I don't think I've ever seen that precedent. You know, I know it's not a historical neighborhood. People can come and do whatever they want, but when we're setting a general rule, it's going to allow for the proliferation of a particular pattern. I see that as not jiving with the continuity of the neighborhood.
I'm just a little unorthodox and invite Ken to the podium. Would you, well, obviously you're prepared to proceed and to vote here today. I think you're getting some feedback on the sentiment. I think there's general positive reaction to what you want to do. There's some very, I think, very legitimate concerns that Patrick and others have raised. We could obviously go forward here, and the city commission is, of course, free to ignore anything we do. Sometimes people have said, let's maybe come back a month and whatever, and then maybe some of these things, now you have this feedback to do. I leave it to you as to how you want us to proceed. You've heard a lot of things here, so you can make your own judgment.
Yeah, Chair, if they give me a minute to caucus with
Absolutely,
my friends from the
absolutely.
Acting group, but I do want to add just a couple things to the
Go ahead,
conversation.
go ahead.
Just first thing, it's really important. The lots are 105 feet of depth. That's the reason why we have to get a little bit bigger and a little wider. I just went and I had someone pull Flamingo Park 120 feet deep. Majority of lots in the city are 130 feet deep. So that is one of the big pressure points here. They're 25, they're really 50, but they're 105 feet deep. So that's one of the biggest pressure points that we're dealing with from GL's or from the home builder's perspective. So that's something we've been dealing with in regards to kind of mechanical equipment on the sides of the house. Well, understand the code today, you could have 2 5-foots on each side, and the equipment could be right there today, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, but not on a side corner street. You know, you can't have equipment.
Now, I suspect if I turn around, Mr. Kevin, that's what we were playing with. Certainly, on Spruce, I'm fully confident that we wouldn't put the equipment on that side. But
I think your comment about the corner side setback, it's a very well put comment. So I think that's something that we could allow because they are asking for the reduction of the corner side setback to 5. We could put as something that says mechanical equipment is not allowed within the corner side
I
setback.
know that addresses all of Pat's
That
concerns.
will address
Is
that
right, Pat?
comment.
That's like
Yeah,
part of your
that would
concern.
go, I think, a long way to improving that.
That's an easy, I mean, and then you put the mechanical on the other side.
Again, for the record, Kevin Rattery, Vice President with GL Homes. To address that, when we discussed with staff the side corner and making sure that the driveway was flipped on all houses, so if you're on the east side of Spruce, it will be a driveway right, and if you're on the west side of Spruce, it'll be a driveway left to accommodate the safe site corner. We can agree that the mechanical equipment, because we typically put them on the garage side of the house, would be located there. As to the chair's request.
Just your preference, that's all. It wasn't a request.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My preference would be no, and let me explain why, because I think you always should have a reason why. And that is that we have been discussing with the city a very strong desire on our part to have the permits issued for what is effectively going to be our model row, which is the southeasternmost block of lots between 40th and 41st, and Flagler and Spruce. I would put it up on a graphic to help you, but it's not there. We control, Huizinga controls all of those lots. We control all of those lots. In order for us to be up and in season for next year, we need to have permits out by the end of April. So it's important to us to have.
But the types, models you want to build may not be allowed, is the point. And that's now, again, we're not the final word, but to the extent our vote impacts what the city commission does, then you want to rush for that. But on the other hand, if you can't build the models, you haven't really helped your cause.
Then that is a statement to us that the city is not desirous of what we are proposing for the city, and we'll move on with our lives, and Huizinga will move on with our lives. We need to, I guess the answer to it is there needs to be a point of finality of these discussions so we know we can move forward.
And you have every right
or not.
to do so. I just wanted to check, so thank you. All right.
I have another kind of suggestion for you. With this condenser thing, are you proposing to landscape around the condenser in any way to either muffle the sound or make it not visible from the street?
Yes, we always landscape around the condenser unit. Again, we use a Daikin unit, which is a little different configuration than your standard square.
So they're not going to be
condenser.
visible.
So yes, we typically use a Calusia hedge or something similar to that around the unit itself. But again, I understand the concern that was raised regarding the Spruce side, that you're walking along the roadway and you can hear. We are planning on fencing along that side and landscaping that side. So anyway, just to answer the question.
Are they wall-mounted condensers or
No,
pad-mounted?
they're ground-mounted. It's just they're a different. They're manufactured differently, whereas a typical condenser unit is a square. The Daikin unit looks more like a suitcase, and the air flows through the sides. Like I said, I have one at my house.
It reminds me of the European models.
Yep, and it's a wonderful model, and it does help with. But again, Mr. Mayfield is correct that you're dealing with a code change that you're not specifying what type of AC condenser unit you're putting in. So the fact that we use that unit doesn't change the fact that another homeowner could use a different unit.
Understood.
So we're trying to just get you to understand what our program is.
Understood. Thank you so much, sir.
You're
All right,
welcome.
let's bring it back to the board for discussion.
I mean, seeing the bigger vision, I do like what is happening up there, right? For me, like the disconnect for me was, okay, we're doing this, and then you have all of these 25-foot lots. Where is that going to fit into this, right? And so now being privy to the fact that the eventual goal is to redevelop that, combine these lots, and really create something that creates a unified neighborhood is very attractive, right? So I'm not, my only two concerns were the side setbacks and the driveways. And so if that's a design element issue of, just that visual that I have is looking down the block and seeing, yes, there'll be Bentleys and there'll be, G-Wagons, right? But, the idea of looking down the road and just seeing a row of driveways. So that would be my two concerns, were the setback and the driveway. But as far as like the vision and then moving forward, I don't have a problem with that.
Why don't we go down the row and get people's comments? TK, you first. We'll just go down the row. What are your thoughts on this application?
Thank you. My general thoughts are very positive on what is trying to happen here. I live near the area, so I drive through it all the time. I know a lot of residents in that area too. And the folks that I've spoken to that have heard about the plans and read about them have generally been positive. I do, share some of the concerns that were raised by my colleagues on the setbacks and the potential use of non-Heising-owned properties or GL home-owned properties to do things that may be different than what had been planned originally with this. But I am generally supportive of the plan and the idea, and I think those tweaks that were mentioned make sense. And if staff is on board with that, then I'd be supportive of it.
Thanks so much. Gene.
I think the board is generally, big picture in agreement with, the overall plan and vision for the community. I think the way we're going about it might be a little piecemeal and a little rushed, but, there's a lot of contingencies that need to be met in order for this to work. So those are my thoughts.
Patrick, what are your thoughts?
I think if we're getting towards some consensus here, I feel like a modified version of this could be approved with the elimination or prohibition of equipment in the spruce side setback and potentially a reduction of the driveway cut back to the 20-foot, which is the current standard for the rest of the city.
Okay, we heard from you.
No, I'm all in favor of this type of intensification. I mean, this is the way of the future. We have to go through the all stock and modernize the city. This is the only way. There's no more land left in West Palm Beach,
That's right.
Deborah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's long overdue first. I don't live in the area, but I drive through there quite often, and I know a lot of the families in that area. And so when I heard about the 25-foot lots, I said, oh my gosh, until later when you talked about combining the lots to 50 feet. And so that's, that kind of helps. The project, I tend to want to support it. Seems like we need a little bit more discussion on it so we can tweak some of those areas that we've talked about. And the other part is I know that the lots on the south end are much larger, and so therefore there's some flexibility with it. I did have concern with the side setbacks, the 5 feet and 5 feet, talking about living on top of each other, but that's it.
So if I come back to you, Pat, it seems like the comment you made about the spruce, whatever those, that seems to be a consensus on that. Can you explain a little more about your thoughts on the driveway? You said
Building off of your comments, Will, I think what they're asking for is a larger curb cut, cumulative curb cut right now, we're limited to 20 feet. They'll let you split it into 2 points of entry, 10 and 10. You have to maintain 20. And essentially what they're asking for is another 8 feet, or another 6 feet, which essentially allows 3 cars to park off the street. But what that is going to lead to is the proliferation of three car garages on a 50-foot wide lot, which, if you think about how much space is required for an actual garage for 3 car, you're talking about taking 2/3 of the width of the lot, the buildable width of the lot, to allow for just a large garage door or pair of garage doors. And I think that, like you said, you're just going to be looking down the street at a sea of curb cuts and driveways.
Well, and for me, my concern also was the depth. The 18 feet versus the 25 feet. My concern was the depth, the 18 feet versus the 25 feet. Now, do I think 25 feet is too much? Yeah, right? But is 18, when you're looking at it on the diagram visually, it looks drastically different, right? That's 7 feet. So I hadn't even contemplated the width of the driveways. And so now with his explanation, I understand your landscape desire to put some sort of hedgerow or something in between to break that up visually, so when you're driving by, it doesn't look like one giant cement pad. So I do see that. I don't really have a problem with the 3-car garage. It's more the depth of the car being able to sit further into the lot so it doesn't look like it's hanging on the curb. So.
All right. The question is, we're working toward a consensus, one hopes. I think let's focus just specifically on the curb cut and the 3-car garage. Let me go down there. Are you in favor of that, not in favor of it? Let me start with you, Deborah. I can come back to you if you want to give it more thought. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Your mic is not on.
Curb cut, but I can see that, pushing 3 cars sitting right there in the driveway. It's going to probably extend to the swale area.
The argument was that they can now take 3 cars off the street and
Right.
garage them, is the argument.
Theoretically 6.
And Patrick's concern, though, is that it's going to take some landscaping away.
I mean, it's a solution, but it's going to be a tight
Yeah.
solution.
Well, we had to decide. The question is, we're working toward to see if there's a consensus on the board on what we're going to support. So I want to get,
Support that.
okay, and how about you?
I have no issues with these.
How about you on the 3-car garage and the?
Yeah, I'm fine with the 3-car garage. And if you're having a 5-foot setback, you're going to have 5 feet of landscaping. So theoretically, you're going to have 10 feet of landscape between each house, or between each driveway cut, because you'll have 5 and 5, right? Okay.
Gene, what are your thoughts on specifically on the 3-car garage and the added?
It would have been nice to have more visuals.
That's what I had asked, but they're right that technically it's not supposed to be something we look at.
Well,
So.
Is it every model or every other model?
No, it's one of their models,
Yeah.
right? It's not every model. It's one of their models.
Okay.
So it won't be every car, every
Is
home.
there some sort of design? Is there some sort of design?
But that's beyond what we're supposed to do. We're looking at design. So, okay. So, Gene, yeah, my understanding is they have several models, and this is one of them. Only one of them has a 3-car
Like I know in the
garage.
old days, like if you're going to do a community, you would do like every.
I understand,
third
but we're a
house.
planning board, so we have to, yeah, all right.
But we're visually looking at the
I
neighborhood.
know. So, Gene, what are your thoughts? We're trying to see if we have a consensus or not.
Flip a coin.
Always the high road there.
Yeah.
Why don't you think on it? TK,
Think
what are your
about it.
thoughts?
I'm supportive. I like my colleague's suggestions on spruce out, but on the 3-car garage, I'm supportive. I'm okay with it.
Okay. It seems to me that there's probably about a majority that would support your comments on the spruce, but probably allow the 3-car garage. Would you be comfortable making the motion? If you don't want to, I understand it, but you understand it better than anyone who could make the motion. But if you're uncomfortable because you don't support it,
The depth, I'm not as concerned about because that's the standard depth of a parking lot space.
18 feet?
Well, 20 feet. So I'm not concerned about the depth.
Okay, so the driveway is 20 with a 2-foot extension of the house, so from the lot, from the street to the house is 18.
Right.
But the full length of the driveway is 20.
You can park a long vehicle. You got a foot in front of you, a foot in behind you before the sidewalk.
Okay.
I don't want to, if you're not comfortable with that, because you may not be supporting it. Is someone else, can you make the motion? Okay. You understand his thoughts about spruce? All right, you guys are great. Go ahead and make the motion. And I do want to include the staff condition as well about the stormwater, whatever the absorption rate.
Well, no,
I think,
this is only a text amendment.
okay.
And the letter that we got is going to be dealt with a site plan.
Guys, if you don't mind, is this part of this motion about the
So
condition?
It's just going to be on the record,
Right.
and we'll make sure to include it so that it's a follow-up before City Commission. If it, so it's something that needs to be addressed, so we noted.
Okay, so you see what he's saying? Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you, my friend. Go ahead and make the motion.
Okay.
It's going to be okay.
I move that the planning board recommend to the city commission approval of the code revision case number 25-04, a request by Len C.J. or Jean-Louis of Urban Design Studio on behalf of Wizinga Holdings Incorporated, involving a text amendment to the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations. Chapter 94, Article 3, Sections 94-72, single-family low-density residential district, and 94-74, single-family high-density SF14 residential district, to introduce and establish a new development regulation. The motion is based on the testimony presented at the hearing, along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitutes competent substantial evidence. The planning board hereby makes findings of fact that the application complies with the required standards of sections 94-32A of the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations.
I second.
We have a motion second. Sam, looking good? Our motion? It was Sam's, I
Yeah,
mean,
you said add the stormwater, right?
yeah.
For the record.
Site plan.
Do we want this?
What about the mechanical equipment no mechanical equipment on corner setback?
That's for site plan, later.
Okay. No, this is today. We only have a single thing before us. So we want to put two conditions on it.
Okay.
One of them is,
The stormwater?
no, the stormwater, what was the second thing, how you said?
We don't,
The
this,
prohibition of mechanical on the side corner setback.
No, but it's something we can,
that one is for the code requirement, yes.
Right.
That is subject to this amendment.
The prohibition of mechanical equipment within the side corner setback.
Within the side corner setback?
Mechanical equipment what?
Within this side.
Prohibition of mechanical equipment within the side corner setback.
The no mechanical equipment.
Correct, no mechanical equipment in the side corner setback.
All right.
and then what's the thing about the storm? What do we need to put in there?
Yeah,
On
but
this
Anna Maria,
motion?
isn't the storm and the water and all the utilities
Yeah,
dealt with?
that one, we don't want it as a condition.
You don't want is this, okay, I misunderstood. Okay, go ahead, then, make that one amendment, please.
Yep. And amend my recommendation for approval to include a condition that no mechanical equipment be located in the sight lines at the corner situations.
Side corner setback.
Setback, yeah.
Is there anything else?
Yeah,
Sam,
that's
does
fine.
that cut it?
And
We will amend the proposed text to include that condition when it's presented
Okay.
to that change or requirement when it's presented to the city commission.
so are we okay with the pending motion? That's my narrow question. Looks like they're powwowing,
The conference.
we're caucusing.
Yes.
Okay, we got agreement. So who had the second? Did
Second
you?
again.
Do you accept the amendment?
I accept the amendment.
All right, we have an amended motion and accepted second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
One nay. Okay, so it passes 6-1.
Two nays.
I'm so sorry?
Two nays.
I'm sorry, who was the second one? Okay, excuse me, it passes 5-2.
I want to thank you all. I know how frustrating it is. Boy, I want to come up with a PowerPoint and show you a beautiful project, but that's not
Curious.
what's in front of you tonight. It's code and language and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That then brings us to other business, unfinished business, new business.
One thing before we
Ooh,
conclude.
I'm so close.
First time, we should include the recommendation for the stormwater.
I thought we had addressed that. We did not.
Did? Okay.
It was not part of the motion, but. I'll tell you what, why don't we do this? Why don't we entertain a second motion, not part of this, and how would you phrase it? How do you recommend it, Sam?
That you're recommending.
Okay.
On the stormwater.
Yeah, it's just something we're going to recommend for the city commission.
What I'm saying is the stormwater should have a pre and post build-out stormwater study to assess impacts, increase pervious and building footprint on existing infrastructure.
Is that what you were asking
Yes,
for?
for the
Okay, is that a motion you're making? That is part of our recommendation to the city commission?
That's what you want in there, right?
Correct. That's a recommendation.
Okay, and have we a second for the motion? Sure, I'll second. Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, so it passes 5-2 or 6-1, Gene? Want to get your vote accurate?
Well, I can't vote in the affirmative for the amendment if I didn't vote in the affirmative for.
This is separate motion.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Oh, on that, then I would change my vote to yay.
Yeah.
Then
Okay,
yay.
okay, unanimous. All right. 7-0. Okay, that brings us then to unfinished business, new business. If not, we stand adjourned. Can you give this real quick to that lady there? Hey, Patrick.